Hello everyone, this is Walid and welcome to Flutter Quiz League Day 7. And we are a little late because we were short of time. We are out of schedule, so we are not going to go for the intro and all the stuff. So like I'm directly introducing you to Muhammad Idrees. So he's a guy from FAST, and he's a student. And this time we have been picking up speakers from the community directly, and we are trying to get new talent on board and giving them chance to speak so that they can polish their skills and come forward towards a greater community contribution. So Idris, whenever my voice breaks, so please just let me know because I guess it's some internet issues up there. So, guys, let's just begin without wasting any further time. So, let me just give an overview. You need to have to listen the talk from the beginning till the end in order to attend the quiz because the quiz questions will be from the presentation. And the important thing is the quiz is a fastest finger first, so you don't need to give all the right answers. You need to give the maximum right answers in the minimum possible time. So I always repeat that in every talk. So please make sure that you do the quiz as fast as you can. So there have been things like the winner of the quiz was a person who gave only 5 right answers out of 10, and he was the winner. Why? Because he gave it in under 30 seconds. So that's the whole idea. You don't need to spend 10 minutes in giving all the 10 answers correct. You just need to give a few answers in the first couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. So that's the main idea of this whole setup quiz and the fastest finger first thing. So let's just not waste any further time. Idris, over to you. And guys, Idris is a student of FAST. And the only thing that you need to know right now about him is he's a young guy and he has been picked directly from the community purely on merit basis. And he has been doing some great work in PWA and he contacted me on Slack and we decided to get him on board as a speaker. So we expect him to contribute more towards the community and be a part of Flutter Pakistan as well in the upcoming days. So let's just hear it
Inshallah.
from Idris himself. Idris, over to you. Thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone can hear me properly. So let's get started with Flutter and PWAs. So we start this by defining myself. I am Mohammad Idrees, as Sir Walid put it. I've been working in the mobile dev industry for about 2 years. I'm a computer engineer from Mehran University, and I'm a Flutter developer at Code Labs. I'm also doing masters from FAST, as mentioned earlier. So without further ado, PWA. So what is PWA? So PWA stands for Progressive Web Applications, and but still, what is a progressive web application? So the first thing we always do if we don't know something is Google it, and when we Google it, we get some fancy worded definition from Wikipedia saying that a progressive web application is a type of application software delivered through the web, built using common web technologies including HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It is intended to work on any platform that uses a standard compliant browser. So if you understood that, that's well and good. You don't need to go through the entire thing. But if you like me and you're fancy words don't do that for you, so let's just kind of dumb it down and start from the really start, and just ask yourself a basic question: what is the internet? So internet, let's think of it as one entity that is the server. It has some information and some data, let's say, and then there is the user who wants to access the data. So internet is just a way of connecting both of them, you see. So you kind of, the data goes back and forth, back and forth. So let's just say I am a guy and I want to go to facebook.com. So I ask the server, hey, I want to visit facebook.com. The Facebook then asks from me about some data that, hey, do you have a username and a password? And are you the right person? And then he switched to me to the profile. But you see, the data itself is not that useful for the user, because if he's not even a developer, we don't know what all JSON and all this stuff is. So if I put it more correctly, it's just showing information to the user. Now, here is the interesting bit, the real big question that many people is asking, that, okay, I have data and I have to show it in information, but how to show this information? So we're living in the 21st century, honestly, and there are a lot of ways that an information can be viewed. So we have all these devices, so monitors, these laptops, you can compress it to the tablet, you can compress it to a mobile phone, and then we have even smartwatches. And it's kind of confusing and a really big decision to make if you're a business owner, that, okay, how exactly can I show this information to the user? So uh, if I ask you how, so if you're guessing all these devices in Flutter, okay, so you're at a Flutter place, I get it, probably why you guess that. But I just like I said, for a moment, just forget about everything, and we're dumbing it down, and we're just gonna say something basic as a web browser. This is something that everyone has been using, and this is how information is basically flowed. This the first thing you install when you have something is open your laptop, is buy a new laptop, is a web browser. So if we see a web browser, it basically is a website and a browser. So let's kind of take deep dive into it. What is a website? So a website is just some structured rules. It's just a set of rules that how an information should be displayed to a user. So we have these fancy headers. If you're familiar with HTML and CSS, we have header. It should be of green color. It should be of blue color. It should be big. It should be in the corner. It should be aligned to the right. It should be at the bottom. Where should it be? How these animations are working and stuff like that. And then there's this awesome application called browser. So a browser is what that is something that communicates with the hardware that the user is being using. I mean, it can be a mobile phone, it can be anything, basically a laptop, a monitor, and it kind of interprets that website's information and displays it to the user. So this is what's been happening. So so I'm saying browser and it's really awesome, but if you really think about it, every application is just a browser by that definition, because at the end of the day, there's this entity called the server that has the data, and we have to show it to the user, and we create an application for it either, or we use the browser. So we either create, so in case, if you think about it, we are actually creating a browser to show that information. Hope everyone is getting that. And this is where the big question comes in. Should I make my own browser, or should I use the browser that is already and display my website? So if I am a business owner and I launch a website, obviously in today's time, I have to think about, I have to, it's like a must to have it responsive, because if it's not responsive, then we have all these device sizes that would not use it. You're probably watching right now this stream on your mobile phone or a tablet. So we already have a web design that's responsive. Then why not just make it an app? Simple and clever as that. And this is where the PWA comes in, progressive web apps. So what we did, what basically some clever people did, is made the browser say that, hey, just send me a little more of information and structures, information and instructions, so I can display your website as an application to the user. So what is that information? So up till the start, from now, we have reached to the point that we know that, okay, what exactly, where does the idea of PWA comes from, and what is a PWA? Hopefully you know that. So but still, now, what information does the browser need to display it as a PWA? Or I can rephrase it and say that what makes a website a PWA. Now, there are three fundamental blocks for a PWA. You should know that. And those are an HTTPS request, a service worker file, and a manifest file. What are those, Idrees? Yes, I'm coming to that. An HTTPS secure connection is required by the browser in order for it to install the PWA. This is for security reasons, obviously, and even if it's not for security reasons, if you think about yourself, you're not going to download an application on your device if it has that tag saying unsecured connection, or there might be probably wrong something. So you need that HTTPS thing to have that, self validation. They might be stealing your data, but you never know. So the second thing you need is a service worker. Now, this is actually a JavaScript file or a JavaScript script that runs in the background. That browser knows that I have to run this file in the background. Now, this is the main difference, if you think about it, between a website and an application, is that an application runs in the background. In a website, you're just browsing, you just close the tab, and that's the end of story. But an application, you close it, you still get notifications, you get messages, someone is typing something to you, you have a snap, you have an email, if that's something you're excited about. So yeah, so you need a kind of script that is service worker is just kind of scripts that runs on the background and handles those background requests. Now, this is the most important part because this is the manifest file, a manifest file. So if you're coming from Android, you'll be like, oh, manifest file. I'm so scared. Well, honestly, I was in time, but here a manifest file is totally different and it's probably straightforward and easy. You just need to know a little bit of it. So a manifest file is a JSON file. So it has keys and values, and it basically tells how your website should look and feel as an application. This is the most useful part because this is what makes the PWA, the website, a PWA. So we're gonna have a deep look. So this is what a manifest file looks like. Just like I said, key value pairs. It has some awesome keys like short name, description, icons, start URL, background color, display, and all of these stuff. So yeah. So we're going to get into one by one. So a short name or a name is something that would be the name of your application. So when your website is downloaded and you have it on your phone, so this would be the name of that application. Now, why is there's a short name and a name? So basically, there are companies that have huge names, but they also have a short name. So short name is what preferably is taken as the app name. For example, you can say like Idrees. You can't have an app named like A Desire in Dreams about sports. So it has to be a short name, Idrees. So you can have a short name and then you can have a name. The second thing are the icons, which is also important because when you download the PWA stuff, what icon should appear on it? So these are of different sizes, a lot of sizes. If you generate a manifest, and because there are different type of icons. There's one that comes on the iPad, the tablets, and the one that comes on the phone, and then there are icons that take up the splash screen, in the middle of the splash screen. And then there's also one icon when you go to the activity of your phone, the thing where you view all the previous tabs and you see it. And nextly, there's the start URL, which is when the user taps the app icon, where should the application take your user to? Which part of the website your application, which part of the website should your application should the user be viewing? Should it be the login page? Should it be the home page? You have those slash thingies in web routing. So this is basically the start route. You have in Flutter we have initial route, so kind of get that idea, but we'll get to that part. A background color is the color property that defines, the background, the color of the splash. I'm gonna get to the splash in a minute, but just for now, just get it that the background color is the background color used for the splash. Now, the display is the property that defines how a PWA should look like in your device. So there are basically four types of displays. One is full screen, that is self-explanatory, like it's full screen. The website would take the entire screen of the device. And then there is standalone and minimal and browser. So I left the hard ones. You're thinking, no, we're gonna get. I have a separate slide for them to better understand them. So a standalone is kind of like a browser, but it only has like the close button and the minimize button, but it doesn't have all the browser functionality, like but you can say any of the browser functionality, just it appears as a window. But in the minimal UI example, you can see that there is the minimal of the browser. You have a back button and a refresh button. If it's important because sometimes you want users to be navigated on different pages, so they can go back, or if there's an internet issue, they can refresh. Otherwise, if you don't have that feature built inside your website, the browser is just like opening the web on the browser. So that's also very self-explanatory. Theme color is something you would be familiar as the primary color when you're creating a Flutter application. We're getting into closer and closer to Flutter. So it's basically the color that the activity bar takes when you go to the activities screen and you watch all these website applications there, and you have this bar, and that it's colored, in Flutter, like I said, it's the primary color, and here it's just the theme color. Now, this is awesome because the web browsers automatically create a splash screen for you until your web pages are loading in the background. And they take three properties, namely the name, the background color, and the icon. So the name, the splash screen is something like the icon in the middle, the name in the bottom, and the background color in the back. So that's a splash screen. But so the good news is you don't really need to memorize all that. There is an auto-generate tool. There are many of them, but this is one that I use to be honest. One issue with that is that it gives a default shadow on the icon if you're not that interested in that. So you want a flat icon, so you would really have to generate it. So it kind of takes one icon and it generates all the device preferred icons, and it has a form type field, so you can enter it. You can just visit app-manifest.firebase.com, the firebaseapp.com. So and to have more info about this manifest file and all the stuff, this is a great Google developer community source called web.dev, and they have a lot of articles about it explaining it much further. It's a limited time. I can't go deeply inside the manifest file, so you can have that. So now we can have a little comparison between. So this is what makes a web PWA awesome. We now know, and let's see how it compares to other things. So such as the native web and the native app and the responsive website. So of course, all of them are mobile friendly. The installable PWA and native apps are installable, whereas responsive web not so much. SEO indexed. So what is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. The native app is not, because native app is usually searched on the App Store. But websites use Google and can be Google, Bing. I don't know if Bing that, but Google, Bing. So we have that. So we need search engine optimization. So it's like algorithms. The script that runs inside the web, inside all those HTML files, and we use the most relevant terms through machine learning and stuff. So that happens. And then there's offline mode. A responsive website don't have it. If you're viewing something on the browser, you need to have it have an internet connection. But PWA takes care of that because it downloads the website on your phone. There are push notifications. Some push notifications. Responsive web can do that nowadays. Let's say the core DNA blog needs to update themselves, and yes, browser can also now take your GPS enabled, but it's dependent on devices, so it's kind of like your phone. So PWAs, you see all those ticks, and you're like, hey, these are awesome. They are easy. You just need a manifest file and a service worker, whatever that is, and a HTTPS connector, but they are really awesome. So can they do everything? See, and I probably guessed it. No, they cannot. They cannot do everything. See, and there is a reason for that. So the main reason why we can't let PWA do everything is security. We always talk about, hey, my app is not being published on Android store and it's not being published on Apple store. There are so many rejections, and there are these and there are these, because they have to maintain that certain criteria for an application. That's why they have to do that vigorous checking. So they have to make sure the application is right, and once it's on there, you cannot just like change it and stuff like that. So okay, I can trick them and post them. Like in PWA, you can literally do that. It's responsive, it's light, it's basically a website, so you can just let the user download it, and later on you can just like any HTML or server file, you can just update it, and all the updates come on the user's device without any restriction anymore. Whereas on an Android app or a Apple app, if you have to put it on, if it's already on the store and you want to update it, you have to reinitiate the entire process. So because they have to maintain, like I said, that quality, they have to make sure the updates are coming, that they are not wrong or anything. But PWA can do a lot of things, and if it's just a basic everyday website, you can make it into a PWA. This is an awesome source called What PWA Can Do today, ironically, and it tells you it's actually a PWA, and it tells you that all the stuff that PWA can do. But if you talk about more, so some, and they're all basic functionalities, and it awesomely includes media. Like right now, I'm communicating to you via browser. So my browser is using my phone and the microphone, camera and the microphone. But but there are some hardware dependent stuff like accelerometers and gyrometers and stuff like that browsers still don't have access to, and you have to write your own application in Flutter, or even sometimes doesn't Flutter even support those stuff, so you have to go native and you have to apply those changes natively. So so that concludes the PWA part, and now it's time to dive into Flutter. So magically enough, you would be wondering, we can just write Flutter create PWA and get created. Well, what Flutter does is actually create a web. So this is the part that is later on converted into a PWA, but it doesn't need to be converted, but we just have, like, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of a basic PWA. So you need an initial setup. So this is, today is 17th September, and it's still in the beta channel, Flutter Web. So to use Flutter Web, you have to change your channel to Flutter Web. So in command line, just type Flutter Web. Upgrade is optional if you want to, don't want to, and then config enable web. That does the magic. That command does the magic and does enables that web for you. So if you want a more deep dive into getting started with web, you can just go to the initial official docs and review those later. So just like your I'm hoping you're already familiar with Flutter. So you already know that when you create Flutter, Flutter gives you an Android folder, which later on creates the Android build. And then there is an iOS folder, which later on creates an iOS build. In the similar way, when you enable web, what it does that it gives you an additional folder known as the web. And the awesome part is that the web already take cares of the manifest. It gives you the manifest, it gives you the icons. It's not all of the icons and not all of the what you can say uh, uh, all of the manifest file, but it's just a basic one. So you can, if you want to download it, you can download it. So uh, and you can, as you can see here, so it's created this manifest file, and this is the actual manifest file created by Flutter till today, 17 September. Again, I don't know, hopefully they will update some things in the future and you won't get it exactly like this you're seeing now. So it has the name, short name, start URL, it's a dot. There's a display, which is standalone. Remember, what's a standalone? It's a browser with nothing, no operations whatsoever. And it's a background color, a theme color. It has a description, which obviously is the app description, and then the orientation is portrait primary. So there's also a field called orientation. So if you want to open it like this, maybe if you're creating a game, you want the user to view it like this rather than this. So that's something. And like I said, a couple of icons, which are Flutter icons. So that is how the manifest file is created. So the interesting thing that I wanted to walk through today is how to make a website dynamic. So uh, we'll do something basic. So if you have visited a website on your Chrome browser, you probably see these icons, these circle icons. If you see Google, there's a G on the corner of the window, and there, if you're Wikipedia, there's like a W, the logo of the web, that is called a favicon. And what we're going to do is make that favicon dynamic to the theme. So if it's a dark theme, you would have a dark favicon, and if it's a dark logo, and if it's a light theme, you would have a light favicon, a light logo. So and this the reason why I'm telling you this is because this would later on, if you want to make your manifest dynamic, you would do that. So let's just say you want to create a PWA and have it such like that if you create if it's installed in the dark mode, it should have a dark icon, a dark splash screen, like I recall it, it's dynamic. It chooses name, the background color, and the icon, so you can change those. And if it's in light mode, so you can do the vice versa. So in the index HTML file, you can see the file created. There's an index HTML file there. So in the index HTML file, there would be something called a link, and that links favicon.png directly. So what we're going to do is remove that and just give a HTML tag of link and give it an ID favicon. Why we're doing that is because later on we're going to create a file called app.js in the web directory. We can do that, and we can make this function that is $theme. And what this function is basically doing, that function is talking to Flutter, and that is how a JavaScript function is. That is how you set up a JavaScript function to talk to Flutter. So the function name is theme, and we have this document.query, and we are saying that this ID, the tag of this ID, set it attribute to the theme. So this parameter, so see, we are passing the theme. So whatever the theme is, if it's, I take it as a Boolean. So if the dark theme is true, make it dark, and if the dark theme is false, then make it light. So the favicon appear would be according to the theme. It's really simple. I hope you're getting it, hopefully. And then the next thing we have to do, since we have created an app.js file, we have to mention it. The defer keyword here is really necessary, because that will make sure that this file is loaded and before creating the application. So this comes to the start. It just makes sure that probably a JavaScript person would explain it more betterly, but that's what I got out of it. And in your Flutter, this is the familiar territory for all of us, the Flutter territory. We'll just make an example file called change theme. By the way, app.js is also a name that I created. You can name it whatever you want. Just make sure you give that name exactly here in the source of the script. So you're going to import JS from universe.html. I'm kind of using a plugin here because the original JS was not working that much for me. I don't know, for some reason. Hopefully they have fixed it now. You can look at it. But and then you can, if you want to call a method from JS if you have called a method from a JS file into your Flutter, you do something like js.context.call method, which calls the method, and you name it, give it the name, toggle theme, remember, toggle theme, the name of the function, and you pass the parameters. This is the theme value. The theme value is probably here, I'm considering it again as a Boolean, true, false. The function is that I just gave it a long name that reacts on theme change. So basically, whenever someone toggles it, this function is called and it changes the file back here. So this is the result. So if the theme is light, you have a light favicon. This is a favicon. That's what I'm talking about. And if the theme is dark, it gives a dark favicon. Now, as you can see, the link duas-pwa-web. So there's more to PWA, and it's like really limited time. So I just gave you a head start, so now you know what most of the PWA is. But I was actually picked today as a speaker because of this project. This is an open source project that I worked on a while ago called Project Dua. And all it does is just generate duas from the Quran randomly. And it is a PWA created in Flutter. And it's entirely open source. I have made... tried to make good documentation of it, so it's really straightforward. You can just dive into it, and if you ever want to ask me something, you can. And this is actually a running website, so if you want to view it, you can just view it as duas-pwa-web.app. So something for the HTTPS, a tip: if you just want to start it up, just use Firebase hosting, because it's secure and it's just instant and it's free. So you have that web.app in the end, but I kind of like it if you ask me. But it gives you that HTTPS, so anyone can download your PWA, a PWA, like on their phones or laptop or everywhere. So in conclusion, what I learned from doing this PWA. So PWA obviously takes some effort, but this is totally my opinion when it comes to Flutter, and you're creating a website, you're probably have all that code that you need if you want to make it an application. You just have to, the few changes you have to need to make it a PWA. I would even argue less amount of changes would be needed to just create the build. So unless you're like kind of like I don't want to go from a business point of view, to all that hassle of going through that Play Store and stuff, and I find dynamic, and I just want to keep changing the application, then PWA is good for you. But you can probably just make a build for it. But it's an option, it's there, so you can use it, obviously. And the thing that I feel personally is we can use this PWA as a testing tool. So for instance, see, in testing, we're probably like putting test flights. This is something we do in our office on daily basis. So I've updated this feature, so I'm not going to put a test flight to show it to people. So instead of going through all these processes, we can just have a CI/CD pipeline for a Firebase application. We can have it free, and we can just let the users review our changes instantly, as long as the testing period, because probably there's just a small bunch of people that are going to test our application anyway. So yeah, we can do that. or not. It's just like I said, this conclusion is entirely my opinion. I might be wrong, I might be right, so it's just based on me. So thank you so much for this opportunity, for listening to me. I think I've taken all of my time if there's not enough. And you can always follow me on Twitter at Idrees Bugio. If I'm doing something, I'll probably post it there, so you can keep updated by that. So now I would let Waleed finish off this session. So over to you, Waleed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Idris. This was something amazing. And PWAs, we don't really explore PWAs, and people don't really go to that side of this tech. So thank you so much for
Exactly. It's something
letting
that's
us
new in the
know.
market.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for letting us know how
Yes.
PWAs and Flutter
And thank
interact,
you
and
for this
we can
opportunity and this amazing community. You always do good work. So keep it up
thank you so
and
much.
more
Thank you
power to
so
you.
much. Thank you. So, guys, it's 9:40. I'm just sharing the quiz link in the comments. I won't be, sharing it on the screen. I'll be sharing it on the in the comment section. So, the quiz starts now at 9:40, and we'll be ending it at 9:55 in 15 minutes. So, Idris, I'm just removing you and myself from the screen, and this
Okay.
whole thing will automatically end in 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Allah Hafiz.
Bye.